Hey, welcome to the podcast this week. This is one that you guys have requested that I do and talk about. So today is the day. We are going to talk about a year of playing skillfully and how you carry that on into the elementary years. And what do you do when you have children who are elementary age and still preschool, early elementary? We're going to dive into it. I'm glad you're here. Listen, there is no right answer for this. You really do have to find the rhythm for your family. I know someone asked about rhythms when we were talking about doing this podcast. So let's start there. Let's start with what is the rhythm for your family? Now, listen, you set the tone for that. Let's be honest. If you are a morning person, then your kids are likely going to get up. You're going to get things going pretty early. But if you are not a morning person, you might be in the bed until the first child comes and forces you to get out. Again, not right or wrong. It's just how we're wired. And so how we are wired often determines how the day's going to go, to be honest, and how it's going to be set up and what's going to happen. I am a morning person. So for me, it was easy for me to get out of bed often before my kids. I usually, when they were younger, I didn't do this as well, but as I got older, I would go to the gym and get a workout in and be done with that. So that energized me so that I could come home by the time they got up and be ready for the day. Now, listen, when you've got real little ones and you're not sleeping through the night, you're not thinking about going to the gym and getting up before the kids. You're getting as much sleep as possible. And I get that. So again, things are going to be different depending on you, depending on the season that you're in with these children. But for today's episode, let's just say you're somebody who's got like a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. We'll just go with those generic kind of ages. How would a school day look like for you? Let's say you're not really a morning person. I think the best advice I can give you is to still set a goal to get up before your children. Here's the deal, and we know it. When things go wrong, sadly, it's because we've not done what we needed to do to get ready. A lot of the times, not every time, but a lot of the times, we didn't prepare for the day. And if we're going to take this on, the key to it is preparedness. It doesn't have to be strict and it doesn't have to be over the top, but it is to kind of know, what is my morning going to look like? Really just those first couple of hours. Even if you don't have the whole day in your brain, at least think, how is the day going to start? So when you have that variety of age group, every morning, if I were you, I would know ahead of time what is some way my child is going to engage in a sensory experience right off the bat. And I mean the 9-year-old, the 6-year-old, and the 3-year-old. What are some things you can set up and have ready for them as they're waking up? Can you have some water play going? Can you have some Play-Doh out for them? Like as you're getting breakfast ready, here's the reason you want to do that. It wakens the brain. It wakes that brain up. So if they're coming in sluggish, but you have something there that's a sensory invitation, they're more likely to just sit down and do that as you're making breakfast, as you're talking to them, as you're getting your day going. So in addition to sensory, and listen, sensory again can be anything. It doesn't have to be over the top. It could be cloud dough. It could be cornstarch and water. It can be just water play. It can be a color mixing kit. It can be Play-Doh. It can be any type of thing that gets their hands involved so that their brain wakens up. The next thing, start with some type of physical movement your day. After breakfast, you're cleaning up. You're moving into your morning of school. You're cleaning, you're doing chores. This is a great time to do something physical with your children. Now, I mean, you can throw on some music and do a dance party. You can have a morning dance party every morning to different music, and they have to follow the rhythm of the music. How fun is that? It doesn't matter if you have boys. It doesn't matter if you have girls. It doesn't matter the age. You set the tone of this. We're going to move our bodies. You can do stretches. You can do it more like soft music and yoga, breathing, getting some deep breaths. That's getting oxygen to the brain. That's a great thing to do first thing in the morning. You can put on some happy music. You can put on some country music if that's your jam. You can put on some classical music and you can move your body. You can do the, what's the one? Put your hand on your hip and you dip, you dip, you dip. Okay, that's a TikTok, but whatever you do, whatever is your personality, or maybe even not your personality. Maybe it's one of your children's personalities, and you know that. So you put on some music and you waken the body. Here's the reason we want to do that. Again, another thing to get the brain kind of firing and neurons bursting and going. But also the tone when you are moving and you are happy and you are laughing and you are doing things. Now, I know you might say, well, I've got three, rambunctious children, and that turns into war, or they just jump on each other and fight. Maybe it does. And maybe that's telling you they need more physical activity. So if that's the case, maybe you need to take your dance party outside and get outside for some time before you come in and expect them to sit. Here's the problem. So many parents homeschool that think they've got to replicate school. It just is. We try to say that's not what we're doing, and yet we find ourselves caught in that. We have our bucket of books, and we go tell our little ones, even at 6, go get your books and bring them out. We're going to do school. Y'all, all we're doing is doing what they do in school, the thing we're pulling them out of. Do something different. Do what we know works best. So what we know works best is children learn best when they're interested. We all learn best when we're interested. Children learn best when their brain is ready to receive the learning. How do we do that? Through things like sensory, through outside time, through moving our body. Those are all things that regulate the nervous system and help us be able to focus when it is a time where we want to read, or we want to teach them something that needs to be pen and paper or more abstract and not so concrete. And that's what happens as you're moving into the elementary years. The brain is changing where it can receive abstract information, but that doesn't mean we have to shut off all the things we've done in a year of playing skillfully and then switch to workbooks. And then we wonder why our kids hate it when they love the concept of play and how we did all these, investigative type, open-ended activities. And now we're saying, go get your workbook, and we're wondering, why are they so upset? This is why. Keep it light. It doesn't all have to be heavy workbook based, especially in these early elementary years up to 9 or 10. Listen, 9 or 10. Up until that, do as much hands-on play based still. And how do you do that? Here's a couple of ways. Well, number one, again, you're going to start the morning physical. You're going to start the morning with sensory. You're going to start the morning together. You're going to start the morning lighthearted. This is part of your rhythm that you're building with them. And then maybe it is time where your, 8-year-old is needing to do some reading and some working on some penmanship, and you want to go ahead and introduce that and be working on that. And you're like, what do I do with my 3-year-old? What do I do with my 6-year-old? During that time, I'm trying to focus with this 9-year-old or 9-year-old. So you could continue that sensory. You could also have your 3-year-old have some writing things going. You could have some paper. You could have some pens. You could have some scissors. You could have some magazines. This would be a time they can make a book. They can start all of that process without you. This is a time where you could just have open-ended art stuff that they can be near you, some glue, some collage stuff. It doesn't have to be an end result. In fact, it's better if we don't set out an end result. And I know we do some kind of project stuff in a year playing skillfully for the themes, but really the best is open-ended process situations, art, making books, all of that they can do themselves. I'm getting ready to go visit my grandchildren on Sunday, and I'm going to be recording a video of how to make a book with a young child. And I'm going to do it with my granddaughter, and we're going to make a logo book. And that's one of the activities that we have in the curriculum. Listen, you can do logo books with any age. Here's the difference. Your preschooler is going to try and cut the logos out. In fact, I've already printed them. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this. But someone posted this in the Year of Playing Skillfully Facebook group. Love it. Thank you for that. I went and used it. I printed it all for my granddaughter. I'm going to take these, let her cut them out, and we're going to make a logo book. So when I make it with her, she's a 6. So she can do a little bit of the writing now. She can do some reading. So I'm still going to have her tell me the words, and I'm going to offer to write them for her, or I'm going to give her the option to write them herself. That is how it changes as they get into elementary. When, of course, the 3-year-old, you're going to say, okay, tell me your story. There's Target. What happens when we go to Target? And your 3-year-old is going to go, I get goldfish or whatever, or whatever they say, and you're going to write it word for word, and then you're going to read it back, and they're going to understand that words have value and my words have meaning. And so they're going to learn that. So a 6-year-old is a little further down the road, may or may not be reading, may or may not be writing. It is okay either way. You just offer, would you like me to help you write the words, or would you like to try to write the words yourself? A 9-year-old, more likely, but still could be hesitant, you guys. Some 9-year-olds are still nervous about writing. You still offer. There's nothing wrong with offering to help a 9-year-old with their words. Would you like me to write that for you? Would you like to write it yourself? Tell me that story. Would you want to draw pictures to go along with this logo book? Would you, as a 9-year-old, you're comfortable writing? Do you want to write it for your 6-year-old? You help the 6-year-old do the book, or you help the 3-year-old, might even be better, and I'll help the 6-year-old. Do you see how you can have this attitude of still play-based, but meeting the needs of different age groups and different developmental areas? It really is something you've got to commit to. You've got to say, as much as possible, we are going to do this through play, which is so uncomfortable if you are used to school books all the time. You can use school books with a 9-year-old. They've moved into that abstract. They're probably ready, but a lot of 6-year-olds are not. Most of my 6-year-olds were not. A couple were. Most of my kids did not read until well past 6. I think I had one read at 4. Most read around 7 or 8. 1 or 2 didn't read until closer to 9, read well. None of them struggle with reading. One actually does struggle because he has dyslexia. So he does a lot more audiobooks even as an adult. But the other ones are crazy about reading and beautiful writers. Beautiful writers. Why are they beautiful writers? Because when they were younger, we focused on creative writing more than we did technical writing. We waited for that technical writing later. So in these early elementary years, when you have several different age groups going on, including these preschoolers, use that preschooler as your guide and think, how can I take it further? What can I do next? What can my child do next? You see them progressing. Wow, look, now they're writing the letters themselves. So again, let them try to write their book. Even if they are inventive at spelling, that's okay too. Take it further with that. You can do that with just about any subject. Again, back to writing. You want to just build on what they're interested in and have them write about that. Even for penmanship, you guys, your older kids, you can buy every kind of handwriting system out there, but you also can have them practice writing by writing what they care about. If they love animals, have them write all the different animals. Have them, what are all land animals? What are water animals today we're going to do? What are animals we find in our backyard? What are animals we find in the wild? Have them write that down for writing. A lot of times the resistance is a lot less when we go to what they're interested in. That's why unit studies are so popular. I've probably talked about this before, but they're in Reggio Emilia. That whole approach to learning in Reggio Emilia in Italy, it is project-based. And what it means by project-based is that we follow the child's lead, like we take it further and we take it further until they're kind of done learning that at the moment. And then maybe you even bring it back later. And that's the beautiful thing about our curriculum is that you can use it and year after year, your kids will remember it, but you'll see how they've progressed. So it's a great way for you to observe and notice, wow, my child really has progressed in this, because last year this was frustrating for them. So we didn't spend a lot of time on it. But this year, man, they love cutting and they want to cut and their fine motor skills are so good and they can really cut around that cutting practice. You get to see that and witness that. So it's a beautiful thing to just try to do as much as you can through play. So what about history? What about science? What about some of those more abstract, science you can do a lot of hands-on, but history. Even in those early elementary years, keep it as concrete as possible. Think about the history that's going to matter to them. Now, of course, when you have things like we just had the big election, and you have something like that, kids are hearing it, the buzz is around, they're going to want to talk about that. Yes, talk about that because it is concrete, because it's right now. It's right now and it will matter They'll learn in 4 years. They'll be like, wow, they will know so much more 4 years from now when we do it again. So talk about things that are going on right now. Talk about things in your family history. Talk about maybe your neighborhood history, things like that as far as history. Don't try to make it so abstract and do so much. I know, like Story of the World, you can start reading it in book form, and that's fine if you've got a child who really loves to listen to reading and is, really going to be interested in that. But even if you don't do much beyond a little bit of our family history, concrete stuff, what's around us, and up until 8 or 9, they will catch on. I think so often we think we have to just pound this stuff so early because, again, in the classroom, you had all of that. They will get all of that information and they will get it so fast. Do as much, spend that time going places. If you want to teach them about stuff, take them to the place that as much as you can that you want to teach them about. I saw somebody was talking about how do we make a turkey with our kids? It's, coming up on Thanksgiving and we want to make a turkey. And somebody said, have your kids actually seen a turkey? And they're like, no. Maybe go try and find a turkey. Maybe not in the wild, even though I've got them where I live here at the lake. But are there places, bird sanctuaries that might have turkeys that you could go visit and see a turkey? Because then when a child has something to link that to that's concrete, even 7 and 8-year-olds haven't seen turkeys unless you happen to have one. You don't have to stop the things you did with your 3-year-old because they're 6, 7, 8, 9. You keep that going. And if you keep that attitude of it going, then your children are going to be curious. They're going to have critical thinking skills like crazy because they're going to learn when you leave things open-ended, they're naturally curious and you're giving them permission. Like when you open the workbooks, you guys, and you say, okay, today's like page 73. You did 72 yesterday. So today you do 73. Close the book. Over. It's over in like 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, however long it takes them to complete that page. Really, what has it done? Really? I mean, they figured it out. They did it. But is there a way you could extend it? Is there a way you could make it more interesting? Is there a way you could bring it together? As much as you can bring your kids together and teach things together, that's just easier on you. And so that's why the play-based works so well. And then just giving your kids permission to take it further or just adding in as they develop, adding in them writing themselves. Math, of course, you're going to start adding that in. There are math programs that are more hands-on. That is such a personal thing. There's so many different type of math programs out there. But don't feel rushed into that. And when your older child is doing math, what do you do with your 3-year-old? It's a great time to bring out some Magna-Tiles. It's a great time to bring out a counting game. That's a great time. You want to have them close, but they can kind of be doing some of the same things. It's funny, they'll be listening to you talk to the older child and they may or may not care. And often what I hear is, but my older child then wants to go play Magna-Tiles and they don't want to sit here and do that. Okay. Is there any way you can incorporate Magna-Tiles into the lesson? Is there any way you can use some of those manipulatives to teach the concept they're working on? Can you have them nearby? And if it's something you really just have to do with pencil and paper, maybe make it 15 minutes. And then after 15 minutes, you get to join your brother for 15 minutes and do Magna-Tiles. And then we'll come back. Because again, it's going to help regulate them. It's going to help that 15 minutes where you have them is going to be more focused. So do little bits with your older children mixed in with a lot of what you're doing with your younger children. That helps your rhythm of your day be a lot less stressful for you. So many moms come to me and say it is so hard with children of all different ages. And I know for me, my older kids were so helpful. When they finished one thing, I might have them help with a 3-year-old while I'm working with the 6-year-old and the 9-year-old and the 6-year-old. If I'm doing a special process, something with the 3-year-old, because you don't want to just send those 3-year-olds off on their own all the time. And that's often what happens, right? When you have these older kids and 3-year-olds just all over and you're like, what do I do? Well, that's why that buddy system works. Up. Also good to do is if you have a friend in a similar boat, say, can our 3-year-olds play together while we're working with older, or can our 9-year-olds, can yours come over and let's do a volcano together? Let's do a science experiment together today. Can we team together and join forces And that often helps. So there are ways you can be creative with, getting this multi-age and teaching all the children at the same time. One of the best things I did was join a co-op, and that we shared those responsibilities and help with each other. And our kids enjoyed that so much too. They got to practice things like public speaking and, doing projects together and, debating and things like that. That's so helpful as the children get older. And you know what? We've done it all, and I've changed a lot. Different years required different things, and different years called for me to, have some children went here and other children didn't. We mostly stayed home when they were little. I didn't, do anything outside as far as like hybrid or stuff like that until they got a bit older. And I'm telling you, don't run yourself ragged with that in the early years. And I keep saying until about 9 or 10, at that point, start looking. But under that, you guys, there's so much you can do just by exploring and going to the library and going to the park and going on field trips and traveling if you're allowed. If you have the ability to get out there and go see things and take your kids with you, getting out in nature, simply getting out, really getting out in nature, getting outside. Those are the things that are going to really build that foundation of curiosity, of excitement, of desire to learn. You set the tone with that. It isn't always easy. It isn't always this glorious, we're sitting outside on a picnic blanket and everyone's reading their book and I'm sipping my iced tea. I get that. Some days are hard to do this. But if it is your goal to, as much as you can, do what you can together, as much as you can, keep that spirit of play, your children are going to thank you. You're not going to look back and regret and wish, man, I wish I would have really pushed that 8-year-old in his workbook sooner. I really wish I would. I'm telling you, I'm living proof. You don't have to do it that way. You don't have to do it the way the school systems do it. You can do it. Your personality, take that into consideration. Your temperament, take that into consideration. The way that you approach the day, you know yourself well. It is okay to say, hey, at 2 o'clock, mom crashes. So at 2 o'clock, we're going to have some quiet time activities. Kids need a quiet time. They need time to just learn. Listen, I am the worst at this, if I'm being honest, because it's hard for me to be still. But it's such a gift if children can learn just to take some time to regroup, to renew, to refresh, to rest with a book, with some puzzles, with some Legos, with some baby dolls, whatever that calms them, and have some time to just breathe. All of you. That's okay too. So you build the rhythm in your day that works for you. You keep it lighthearted as much as you can. You won't regret that. And you keep play in every day as long as you can. I hope you keep it in until they go off to college, and then they're out there approaching everything with a playful, lighthearted attitude, because that's what you. Hey, if I can help you further, a couple of options. One, did you know that you can actually book a session with me to talk just about your kid? You can do that on the website. It's called Coffee with Kathy, just where I advise you, just from my years as a child development specialist, my years as a mom for homeschooling almost 30 years, lots and lots of kids with different needs. I'm here to do that. You also can shoot me an email. You can send me a DM, however you want to try and reach out to me, and I will do my best to get back to you. Join the Facebook group. If you are not already in a year of playing skillfully in action, join that. It is a great place. We need to get it moving again and talking and supporting and sharing, because it really is a great place. You guys have the best ideas. I learn from you, and I love that. We need each other, and we can all learn together. Thanks so much for listening.